backstop for a lot of consumers between much lower interest rates, savings for those in debt, and much lower gas prices. That is supposed to sort of be the backdrop that you'd like to see in a market like this. But the market doesn't seem to really care about that positive backdrop for the time being. John Layfield on all of that, AGF Chief U.S. Policy Strategist Greg Valliere, and retail watcher Erin Sykes. You know, Erin, that is the wind at consumers' back. And it might prove the case that it keeps them buying throughout all of this market craziness. But your thoughts?
Well, things have not fundamentally changed from a couple months ago. We're still in a very good economy. We added a bunch of jobs in the private sector this month, and things overall look very good for the future. So it's not fair to the consumer to really get bogged down with this fear-mongering. The coronavirus is obviously fatal, and it can be, a hazard to health. However, it's still affecting far fewer people than influenza, and there's no reason to really hold ourselves short for the consumer and the future of retail because of the virus.
Greg, how do you think all of this is playing out? It's hard to sort of get a day-by-day read on the markets because they're pretty manic, but in general, I mean, the economic impact on this country has been obviously much more limited, if I can say that, compared to Asia, compared even to Europe. What do you think?
Well, I'd say, Neil, in this town, we do one thing really, really well, and that's spend money. And I think that I've never seen quite as many trial balloons as there are right now on doing more, whether it's maybe assisting people who have to go on sick leave, whether it's lifting all tariffs, whether it's a temporary tax cut. The list goes on and on and on of ideas that are being floated. In this little bill that's going to pass in the next day or two, $8 billion, that's a rounding error. I think there's going to be talk in the next few weeks about a really big stimulus bill.
Let's see that doesn't come to pass, at least immediately, John Layfield. What is your sense of the impact this is having on the markets now and how it could? It does seem to echo, just in bigger numbers, the ebb and flow we had on the prospects of a trade deal with China. Now something much bigger at stake, this virus that has gripped the world and it emanated from China. What do you think?
Yeah, something much bigger. And I agree with what Erin said about the influenza being so much more affecting to public health. But the difference is the flu doesn't cancel things like the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. The flu doesn't cause airlines to lose over $100 billion. And I'm not disagreeing with what Erin said. I'm just saying that this coronavirus, it looks like it's going to take off 0.5% of GDP globally. It's already projected by the OECD to be at 2.9%, which is the lowest since 2009. You take another 0.5% off that. You're seeing all of the soccer games in Italy. They're played in front of no crowds. Baseball games in Japan, where Tokyo Disney's closed, Shanghai Disney's closed, played in front of no crowds. The response to this virus right now, at least, is so much worse than what the virus, it looks like, actually is. That is what's going to hurt the economy, and that part, a lot of that spending is not going to come back.
You know, Erin, I wonder about that, too, because I've talked to normally very rational, very calm people who are swearing off going to the movies, won't even go to their kids' high school basketball games. Now, I'm not saying they're indicative of the population, but when I hear and see that kind of stuff, I can well understand why the airlines are looking at a $118 billion tab on losses right now, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you worry about that?
Exactly. I think that's exactly the point here, is that by causing irrational amounts of fear, we will then fulfill the prophecy that the economy will take a hit. That said, retail is actually benefiting in some ways from COVID-19 because people are standing in line and they are waiting, selling out at Walmart and at CVS and Duane Reade and everywhere that sells all of the healthcare supplies. However, it's not fair. It's just not fair to the American people to cause such chaos and hysteria over something that could be really detrimental to the economy because of excessive coverage on media.
Yeah, well, you know how we are in the media. Greg, when you talk about Washington, the mindset there, is this being viewed increasingly as a game changer, that whether it's justified or not, it has changed the thinking not only on the election this year, but on a lot of things this year?
I think in terms of economic policy, it's going to be stimulus on steroids. And if there's one industry to watch, the canary in the coal mine, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it's the airlines. And if the airlines get a big aid package because they're maybe teetering on the brink, I think every other industry will get in line behind the airlines.
Interesting. All right, guys, thank you very